Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. You know, we ought to be talking about RFK Jr. a little bit more because if you really think about it, he's the most important element. People want to talk about voter groups, rhetoric, messaging, political image. Everyone's getting their big brain analyst cap out, but at the end of the day, the most important factor in this election is the third-party candidate, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who, by the way, apparently made the ballot in Nevada after Democrats claimed that his signatures were, quote, invalid. It seems as though he's going to show up on the ballot, so it's pretty official at this point. And so I guess every move must be analyzed. Every word that comes out of RFK Jr.'s mouth is relevant. And speaking of analyzing every word that comes out of RFK Jr.'s mouth, boy, did he have some words to say the other day. Let's just say Twitter leftoids weren't exactly happy with RFK Jr. this week. We've got some stuff to get into. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. So let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so RFK Jr. takes to the media, shows up on CNN, and of course the topic of conversation for most of their interaction was, will you condemn Donald Trump? Donald Trump and threats to our democracy? January 6th, Donald Trump. That was the line of questioning over and over again. I'm sure what they were hoping for is for RFK Jr. to take a strong stance condemning Donald Trump as a threat to our democracy, but instead they got this as a response. Take a look.
But do you really believe that when people talk about the threat to democracy that Trump poses, do you really think that that is an equal evil to Biden?
I mean, listen, I can make the argument that President Biden is a much worse threat to democracy. And the reason for that is President Biden is the first candidate in history, the first president in history that has used the federal agencies to censor political speech, so to censor his opponent. I can say that because I just won a case in the Federal Court of Appeals and now before the Supreme Court. It shows that he started censoring not just me. 37 hours after he took the oath of office, he was censoring me. No president in the country has ever done that. The greatest threat to democracy is not somebody who questions election returns, but a president of the United States who used the power of his office to force the social media companies, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, to open a portal and give access to that portal to the FBI, to the CIA, to the IRS, to CISA, to NIH, to censor his political critics. President Biden, for the first president in history, to use his power over the Secret Service to deny Secret Service protection to one of his political opponents for political reasons. He's weaponizing the federal agencies. Those are really critical threats to democracy.
And of course, the left-wing reaction on Twitter has been total dismay, horror, and shock. Oh, how could he say that? Donald Trump is literally Hitler. Nobody is worse than Donald Trump, of course, is what most people on the left seem to think, or at least most people in the blue anon left. You know, it's an expected reaction, but not everybody is reacting in that way, and a lot of people, I think, are starting to see exactly what he means. RFK Jr. essentially just made an argument as to why nobody should vote for Joe Biden. The man just went on the record essentially stating that Joe Biden is more of a threat to democracy than Donald Trump is. He'd be right. You can't exactly say that you're protecting democracy when you're hell-bent on including illegal migrants in the voting process. You can't say that you're pro-democracy when you're trying to do away with voter ID. You know, really securing and protecting democracy. And of course, that's the least of their offense. They're also weaponizing the DOJ to go after their top political opponent. That's Donald Trump. We've spoken about all the indictments and their efforts for the better part of a year at this point. And of course, keep in mind, the Democrats' lawfare campaign and lawfare tactics aren't just aimed at Donald Trump, but also at RFK Jr. We covered this just a couple days ago, but the Democrats are literally engaging in what can only be described as election interference, attempting to use Democrat Secretary of States to refuse the RFK Jr. campaign ballot access.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. may have to start all over again in a state where he was trying to get ballot access. We learned that Kennedy's efforts to get on the ballot in Nevada could be invalidated because the petition they submitted to the Nevada Secretary of State's office didn't include a vice presidential pick on it before they began circulating it for signatures.
It's important to note that the petition given to the campaign by the Secretary of State's office only had one line for the independent candidate.
The Kennedy campaign said it collected 15,000 signatures to get on the ballot in Nevada, but according to the Nevada Secretary of State's office, an employee misinformed the campaign at the start and told them they didn't need a vice presidential pick on the petition, which is why the campaign is now threatening a lawsuit against the Nevada office.
Joe Biden's administration is actively working to remove a candidate from the ballot after, well, I guess, then we go there again, after trying to do the same thing to remove Donald Trump off the ballot in various states, citing the 14th Amendment, or rather Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, attempting to pull their political opponent off the ballot because they believe believe he committed an insurrection. No actual evidence, Congress never voted on it, he was never impeached on it, there was never a legal verdict stating that Donald Trump organized an insurrection. But Democrats in their delusional minds believe it happened, and supposedly that's enough. I'd love to stop at this point, but I can't, because of course there's more. They're also engaging in censorship tactics, attempting to slap Donald Trump with gag orders. Last week they threatened to seize his assets. They're also engaged in anti-free speech legal lawfare targeting RFK Jr. And of course, on top of it all, the censorship red cherry on top, let's not forget that the Democrats colluded with the FBI and CIA during the 2020 election in order to, quote, push back against the Trump campaign. We all remember that infamous CIA email where 51 former intelligence officials blatantly lied that the Hunter Biden laptop story was likely Russian disinformation. Then, of course, they pressured Facebook and Twitter to ban anyone who even mentioned the story or linked to the New York Post article. And then, of course, on top of it, I thought I was done, but I'm not, and I'm sure there's more than this. Joe Biden also attempted to start a U.S. Ministry of Truth at the Department of Homeland Security. But Donald Trump is the threat to democracy. It's not a question you should have asked RFK Jr., because as we know with RFK, he's going to tell you the truth. He's going to analyze it from a more nonpartisan perspective. And boy, did he deliver. He is absolutely freaking correct. That's a lifelong Democrat, RFK Jr., essentially saying to millions of people on CNN, and yes, I know millions of people are definitely not watching CNN, but of course the CNN content then gets clipped and bounces all over the internet. Millions of people have now seen this clip, and he told them straight up that Joe Biden is more of a threat to democracy than Donald Trump is. In the midst of an election, when Democrats have honestly put all their eggs in one basket, they've put all their eggs in the Trump deplorable basket. Donald Trump is a threat to our democracy. That's their only talking point. Well, that talking point might have just lost all of its steam with RFK Jr. quickly clarifying the record. And I know some people are drawing the conclusion that, well, actually, if RFK Jr. attacks Joe Biden, that makes him seem more like Donald Trump. It's going to draw Trump voters away from Trump and straight to RFK. I don't think that's the case at all. I think, if anything, the exact opposite is true. Trump voters are voting for Trump no matter what. If anybody's affected by RFK Jr.'s rhetoric, it's Biden voters, who are being slapped with a reality check by RFK Jr., who's straight up telling it like it is. He is telling you that your political leader is a fascist, a wannabe tyrant, threat to democracy, exactly what they claimed Donald Trump was. Obviously, that kind of rhetoric is going to have a negative impact on one person and one person alone. That's Joe Biden, not Donald Trump. Any other argument is complete kookiness. Conservative voters are not interested in RFK Jr. They like the guy, they appreciate the guy, but at the end of the day, he's essentially, he gets pretty close to Marxism sometimes. The Trump voter will not cross over, but the Biden voter has shown a keen level of interest. And with what we're seeing right now, the rhetoric, only one person's political image is being damaged, and that's clearly Joe Biden's. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. That's the latest RFK Jr. update. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.